For over a century, some of the world's most prominent map makers shared a colossal misconception. They believed the entire territory of California was a massive, floating island, completely detached from the North American continent. Even the name California is rooted in fantasy. The moniker originates from a 16th century Spanish romance novel describing a mythical terrestrial paradise ruled by a fierce queen and populated entirely by warrior women. When the expeditions of Hernán Cortés reached the sun-baked shores of the peninsula in the 1530s, the explorers were captivated by the rugged landscape. They believed they had actually discovered the legendary island from the novel. This geographic error persisted for generations until a specific royal mandate corrected the record. In 1747, King Ferdinand VI of Spain issued a royal decree that forced cartographers to finally tether the landmass to the continent. But while those early map makers were technically wrong on paper, their logic was sound. Geographically, biologically, and historically, Baja California functions entirely as an isolated island. The primary physical barrier severing this enormous 775-mile peninsula from mainland Mexico is a deep trench of water known as the Gulf of California, or the Sea of Cortés. French oceanographer Jacques Cousteau dubbed this body of water the aquarium of the world. It is recognized as one of the most biologically diverse marine environments on the planet. These nutrient-rich waters support highly isolated marine life, ranging from the critically endangered vaquita, the world's smallest marine mammal, to massive whale sharks that pass through during their migrations. On the landmass itself, isolation is driven by altitude. A massive granite spine, known as the Peninsular Ranges, runs directly down the center, including a 10,000-foot alpine summit called Devil's Peak that regularly receives heavy winter snowfall. This diagram shows the mechanics of the peninsula's climate. These mountains act as a physical wall that blocks incoming moisture from the Pacific Ocean, dropping rain on the western slopes and leaving the eastern side in a severe rain shadow. Cut off from the mainland and shielded by these mountains, the central desert developed species that live nowhere else on Earth. The boojum tree is the most recognizable of these residents, a succulent resembling an inverted carrot that can reach staggering heights of up to 50 feet. By trapping life between an impassable sea and a rugged mountain range, the peninsula acts as a biological walled garden, forcing its species to evolve as if they were stranded in the middle of the ocean. The remote, sheltered coves at the southern tip of the peninsula created a natural strategic vulnerability. During the golden age of the Spanish Empire, English privateers realized this isolation made the coast a perfect staging ground. From these secluded bays, they launched surprise attacks on Spanish galleons transporting massive fortunes across the Pacific. This strategic value almost redrew the map of North America. During the Mexican-American War, U.S. naval forces successfully occupied key coastal towns in Baja, and the American government fully intended to annex the entire peninsula. During the 1848 Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, Mexico was forced to cede vast swaths of its northern territory, including modern-day California and Nevada. However, Mexican diplomats fought fiercely and successfully to retain control of Baja. Their motivation was geographic. Losing the peninsula would have granted the United States total sovereign control over the Sea of Cortés and permanently severed Mexico's overland access to the peninsula. The peninsula remains so logistically isolated by its internal distances that it was eventually divided into two entities. In 1974, a perfectly straight line was drawn across the map at the 28th parallel to slice the territory into two distinct Mexican states. This extreme isolation turned the peninsula into a strategic geopolitical fortress, one Mexico had to artificially lock down and divide just to maintain administrative control. Because the interior is so rugged, human development is concentrated at the extreme edges. In the far north, the San Isidro port of entry serves as the busiest land border crossing in the Western Hemisphere, funneling upwards of 100,000 people and tens of thousands of vehicles across the boundary every day. Just south of that border, the Valle de Guadalupe relies on a specific Mediterranean microclimate to drive a bicultural agricultural economy. Warm days and cool, foggy nights have transformed this region into a hub that produces roughly 80% of all Mexican wine. At the southern tip, the economy of Los Cabos was entirely manufactured by government funding. 50 years ago, these were sleepy fishing villages, accessible only by boat or rugged dirt tracks, until the 1970s, when the Mexican government poured resources into paving highways and building resort infrastructure. Humanity has managed to engineer sustainable economies on the extreme top and bottom edges of the peninsula, but the vast interior remains a harsh, island-like frontier. This brings us back to the 17th century mapmakers. We know they drew a massive island completely detached from the continent, but looking at the forces beneath the surface, their mistake looks more like a prediction. There is an immense geological drama occurring deep underground. The San Andreas Fault system is physically ripping the peninsula away from mainland Mexico. This map shows the plate tectonics at play. The peninsula sits on the Pacific plate, which is grinding past the North American plate and carrying Baja northwest at a rate of approximately 2 inches per year. While that movement is imperceptible today, the long-term result is inevitable. Millions of years from now, the entire peninsula will snap off completely, transforming into a massive, isolated island drifting toward Alaska. The ancient mapmakers who drew California as a floating island were not actually wrong about the geography. They were just a few million years early.